Summer of 1976, a mysterious epidemic suddenly struck two Central African towns, killing the majority of its victims. Medical researchers suspected the deadly Marburg virus to be the culprit. But what they saw in microscope images was an entirely new pathogen, which would be named after the nearby Ebola River. The virus spreads, it invades the lymph nodes and vital organs such as kidneys and liver, causing them to lose function. Ebola only exists in bodily fluids such as saliva, blood, mucus, vomit, or feces.
Usually, dendritic cells would activate an army of antivirus cells, support cells and antibody factories that would, together with the guard cells, wipe out the infection in a matter of days. But when Ebola strikes, it directly attacks the immune system. Some of the first cells it takes over are the dendritic cells, the brains of the immune system. The Ebola virus enters a dendritic cell by binding onto receptors for cell transport. Once it's inside, it dissolves its outer hull and releases its genetic material, nuclear proteins, and enzymes. In a nutshell, it takes over the cell, disables the cell's protective mechanisms, and reprograms it. The cell now becomes a virus production machine and uses its resources to build Ebola viruses. Once the cell is saturated, it dissolves the cell membrane and millions of viruses are released into the tissue. The virus not only prevents the dendritic cell from activating the specialized antivirus forces, it manipulates it into sending signal proteins that trick the specialized cells into ending their own lives prematurely. So the immune system is seriously disrupted and unable to react, while the virus rapidly multiplies. We're talking billions. There are cells that should deal with infected cells, the natural killer cells. But they also get infected and just die before they can prevent the disease from spreading. At the same time, Ebola infects the guard cells of the body, macrophages and monocytes. Not only managing to circumvent their defenses, it also manipulates them to signal to the cells that make up the blood vessels, telling them to release fluids into the body. Usually this makes sense, but in this case, it just causes mayhem. All over the body, neutrophils are activated, awoken by the virus and the macrophages' signals. They're not very effective against viruses and should not be involved in this fight and begin to do lots of stuff they shouldn't do. The neutrophils signal the blood vessels to release more fluid, causing internal bleeding. In a desperate last effort to turn the tide, the immune system launches a cytokine storm. A cytokine storm is an SOS signal that causes the immune system to launch all of its weapons, all at once, in a desperate kamikaze attack. This hurts the virus, but leaves behind tons of collateral damage, especially in the blood vessels. Paradoxically, the healthier the immune system, the more damage it can do to itself. More and more fluid leaves the bloodstream. Blood pours out of every opening of the body. You become seriously dehydrated. There's just not enough blood left to supply the organs with oxygen, and cells begin to die. If you reach this point, the chance of you dying is very high. Currently, 6 out of 10 infected die from Ebola.